let's get the basics right of feedback, number one. Okay, so number one is about the basics of feedback, okay? Be specific. Have a clear focus on what the feedback is, okay? Base it on fact and not opinion. Okay, so quick example that I always use. Let's say you're in an office environment or a retail environment or whatever it may be, and you have a certain time people have to be in. Let's say it's a 9 to 5 job for argument's sake, okay? If the standard is 9 o'clock, when you come into work, the standard is 9 o'clock. You need to be, as far as I'm concerned, at your desk, ready to work at 9 o'clock. Not coming in, taking your coat off and everything else. At 9 o'clock, you are working. That is the standard, okay? Now, let's say somebody comes in late 3 times in a week, okay? You need to give them feedback on this because the standard is now being broken. The standards are the same for everybody across the board, okay? So, you can do this objectively and subjectively, okay? You can do it objectively and base it on fact, or you can do it subjectively and base it on opinion. So, at the end of the week, you call that person in objectively and you sit down with them and go, okay, just need a little chat with you. As you know, the start time that we have is 9 a.m. On Monday, you were 7 minutes late. On Wednesday, you were 15 minutes late. And today, you were 10 minutes late. Okay? The standard is 9 o'clock. So the first question is everything okay? Are you finding it difficult to live up to this standard at the moment? What is happening? Can we support you? But we can't let it go because obviously everybody needs to be in at 9 o'clock. So let's find out the reason and see if we can support you and help you moving forward. Okay? Happy days, tick a box. You've done it objectively. People can't argue with that. 7 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. This was the actual time that you came in. Objective feedback, and then you help them move forward, okay? Charlotte's foot takes time to lick this good, absolutely. Or you could do it subjectively, where you could call them in on a Friday morning or whatever, get them in, sit them down and go, you're a nightmare, you are, you're always late. That's what subjectively feedback looks like, okay? First of all, the word nightmare, we'll come on to that in a bit, yeah? And always, the term always. The fact is, they're not always late. You know, they were late 3 times this week. They probably came in for 5 days, which meant that we're probably on time for the other 2. So, I know I'm harping on about this point, but the amount of times I see people give feedback, and it's not specific. It's opinion. And the moment you start giving feedback based on opinion, people will argue it with you, because your opinion will be different to somebody else's opinion. Now, you could use social proof, which for those of you that know, I've done some influencing. Influencing, by the way, is one of the sessions we're going to do in September. There's something called the 6 weapons of influence. Influencing, effective influencing, is something called social proof. So your opinion is in line with lots of people's opinion. That's what social proof is. So you might try and back it up with social proof, but believe me, the best type of feedback is specific and based on fact. It's subjective, it's objective, not subjective. Okay, so that's point number 1, make it specific. Point number 2, make it timely. Give feedback as close to the event as possible, taking into account your emotion. Okay, so sometimes somebody does something and our emotions bubble and explode. That's not the best time to give them the feedback. So you might just have to wait a little bit of time for your chemical to dissipate, so you are in a more focused mindset rather than an emotional mindset when you give the feedback. But you shouldn't leave feedback for weeks and weeks and weeks, or save it until somebody's review. The amount of times that I see that, yeah, I've got to do their review, it won't be very good, I've got loads of hindering feedback I've got to give them. I'm like, well, why are you leaving it to their review? They can't do anything with that information until their review, and if you've saved it up, it's be like a machine gun shooting them, won't it, with bad stuff. Give them feedback as you go in the most timely manner you can, okay? If anybody remembers the behavioural health and safety sessions I did this year, somebody just started recording the meeting. I don't know, I thought it'd been recorded all the way along. If anybody remembers the health and safety sessions, that I did this year, the behavioural ones, or it might have even been last year, I can't remember now, it's gone so quick that everything's weird this year. We talked about immediate response to things, and that's what we really need with feedback, unless your chemicals, unless your emotions are too high, but just let them dissipate, still do it in a timely manner, really important, okay? So specific, timely, meaningful, okay? Content and precision. So make sure whatever you're saying is accurate, okay? I bet there's people on this call that have given feedback in the past and found out afterwards it wasn't accurate. Okay, we've all done it. In fact, you might have found out in the feedback when you were being told something back and the information that you've picked up is not accurate. So make sure that you've got precision and make sure you know what your content is. So what that means when you're giving feedback is a little bit of planning. You need to plan out what you're going to say. You also need to plan out what the goal is, which we'll come on to in a moment, okay? And be candid, honest, be straightforward with people, but do it with kind intent or positive intent. Look, we all know there's a difference between brutal honesty and honesty with kind intent, okay? There are some people that believe in absolute brutal honesty no matter what. And it is honest, it is being honest, but there's also honesty with kind intent, and that's just you thinking about how you're going to approach it and approaching it in the most positive, kind way that you can for the person that's in front of you. So, essential number 1, basics, specific, timely, meaningful, and candid and honest with a kind intent.